I'm not here to kill you. I want to show those bastards it ain't okay to hunt humans.
Yeah?
They drew first blood, not you.
Wait, what?
They drew first blood.
They drew first blood. I don't think you're gonna make it into the video. You're not exactly small anymore. Maybe you will. Alright, you can try. Nope. She's not making it. Nope. Goodbye, baby. Love you. Hang out in the background. Thank you. Alright, y'all. Welcome to the SES Defender of Family Values. Now, today we're going to be making a build I've had kind of in the background for a long time, but I've been waiting for like the right moment to release it. And since the She just ripped down the lighting in here. Hang on. Get a dog, have a good time, have a few laughs. Yeah. Just kidding, they're great. Anyways, this is a build I've been wanting to do for a long time. So with the new patch, it just kind of feels like it's... Alright, back to what I was saying. I've been sitting on this build for a while. New patch, now I think it fits perfectly. I feel like it's super viable now. It's a lot of fun on tier 10 especially. So how we're going to break this down, we're going to go over the bugs first, we're going to kind of talk about the playstyle, strengths and weaknesses with it, and then we'll move over to the bots and we'll do the same thing, and then we'll kind of give an overview of how I think the playstyle performs and kind of what you should be doing overall. And then we'll talk about the state of the galaxy. We're going to talk about the patch a little bit more. I do have some additional thoughts about the patch now that it's been out a little bit longer, and now we can talk about the new space station that's in the major order. So before we get rocking and rolling, if you like Helldivers 2 content, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We're a small channel, but we are growing very steadily. So yeah, let's get into the video. Right, so for the Terminids, with the equipment and the stratagem, you see we're taking a primary weapon with the crossbow. We're going with the bushwhacker sidearm. We're gonna take the knife, and then we're looking for an armor set, an armor kit with the perks. Peak Physique, you get those from the Viper Commando Warbond, but the medium armor version of that perk you actually can buy from the superstore. And then for stratagems, we're going with the supply backpack. Weapon wise, I put the stalwart down because man, I've been itching to put the stalwart into some build, and I think this one is very appropriate for this build and kind of playstyle we're going to be talking about. And then I went with the EAT, that's the expendable anti-tank. This thing is just a tank buster. It's really good. And then the HMG emplacement. I don't know if you guys have used this lately, but oof, it shreds. It's really nice. So let's kind of go over what we're doing with the equipment and the stratagem. So crossbow, this is a fantastic utility weapon. And with the recent buffs, it is pretty good at chaff clear again. Now, I'd say the major strength of the crossbow is that utility option with this explosive ammunition and just that raw damage. And then I got a little bit of its crowd control back. The drawbacks to this weapon are the rate of fire, not that great. And then the bolt clip is you only get 5 shots. It's not that great either. That feels really bad. But we're not using it as our main killing weapon essentially. And then moving on to the bushwhacker, this is just a close quarters shotgun essentially. Will just take out anything that gets a little too close. You get 3 rounds, or you can switch the mode to dump all 3 shells into a target, and it'll basically kill most things except for heavies and massive targets. And then knife wise, yeah, you could just trade the thermite grenade in. I would put that as probably the more optimized pick, but the knife is just such a meme weapon and it's fun to use sometimes. I get this one, you can definitely argue against me, but if you're going with like a Rambo Army of One build, you need a knife, right? So until we get like bayonets or melee weapons, this kind of works. But I understand going with the thermite grenade. I would probably actually just go with that, but I'm putting the knife down. Then the armor kit we're going for, Peak Physique. This is just because the style of armor that is that this perk is on. You got the shredded Predator Rambo style gear set. So really this is just for the aesthetics. And stratagems, so we're going to be very self-reliant. This is essentially a army of one build. So the supply backpack just essentially means we're always topped off on all of the stims we need, ammunition. We're good to go. We're always on the move. and that kind of fits into why we picked the Stalwart over the other machine guns. Now you can take the other machine guns. I know the regular machine gun would kind of be more appropriate for Rambo, but I want to be running and gunning the entire time. And with those other machine guns, you have to stop and reload. And the Stalwart, you don't. And I don't know if you guys have used the Stalwart, but it is fantastic for chaff clear, and it gets the job done against like a Charger's backside. So this thing is amazing. It feels so good to use, and the ammunition on it is, oh, you can just, it is that fantasy of just laying on the trigger and go ga, 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 ga. So yeah, the Stalwart's really good. And then the EAT, this thing will one-shot Chargers and two-shot Bile Titans. This thing is basically your tank buster. This build overall I would consider a more chaff clear, but again, with the EAT, you do have that massive and heavy damage potential. And then we're taking the HMG emplacement. This is going to be helpful in any defensive mission, even in those, you know, bigger field missions where the 40 minutes. There's some times where you have to raise the flag and you're kind of stationary, and the HMG emplacement is just a great defensive option. It's really strong. It'll take out Chargers. It'll take out Bile Titans. You just have to be kind of conscious of where you're going to place it because you're going to be stationary. This is the only part of the build that is stationary, but I think it's appropriate, especially during Rambo. He gets on the gun, you know, takes out helicopters and shit. So I feel like this was a must pick. But if you don't want to be stationary, I think taking an exosuit is perfectly fine. Again, the overall play style with this build is a army of one. It's your character, it's your Helldiver doing everything. And booster, the booster for this kit, not so important. I just go with the stamina one just to, again, really enhance that fact that we want to be running the entire time. We just want to be go, 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 go. So with the play style, you have the crossbow for those, you know, niche chaff clear instances. If you want to take out medium targets, it's really good. But it's usually going to be used for like buildings, so bug holes, fences, stuff like that. And then the Bushwhacker is just a nice secondary to get things out of your face if they get a little too close. Knife, kind of a meme weapon, but it's funny. It does a really good stagger at least. It's there for some style kills, you know? Supply backpack, it's just going to keep you topped off, and your Stalwart's going to be, that's going to be your staple of this build essentially. Just running and gunning with it. You're never going to run out of ammunition when you have the supply backpack with it. And then the EAT, this thing is just for if, you know, when those heavy and larger targets pop up, you can take him down in a few shots. It's really strong at the moment. And then the HMG emplacement, yeah, this thing's a great defensive option. So this kit is essentially like, you know, if your Eagle Airstrike girlfriend is, she's not talking to you, you're on the outs with her. And then, you know, the orbital armaments guy, Ted, whatever the fuck his name is, he's just an asshole. He's not responding. He's probably taking his 15-minute break. So you're just left with the intern that's in the pod section who just drops off guns. So it's just you and that guy. And you're just telling him basically, send me down the tools and the weapons I need, and I'll do the rest. And then moving on to the automatons. Now this is basically this is the exact same kit. It works as well. I actually wouldn't probably take the knife. I would change out the thermite definitely for this one, but I put the knife in it again. Just, we already talked about that. But this works basically the same. You're running and gun the entire time. I would caution taking the Peak Physique armor that is the light variant. I think you just get shredded way too easily in bot missions now with light armor. I don't think light armor really cuts it anymore, especially for tier 10, just because of the, you know, the amount of enemies and how accurate they are with their guns. And then for this build against the bots, you do have to basically stick to cover. You can't be out in the open if there's like, you know, a patrol or a drop ship that comes in, because you will just get torn to pieces. You don't have much survivability with this unless you're taking the heavier variant. And even then, even with heavy armor, you getting caught out is really, it's not great if you don't have like a shield backpack or something like that. So that's just really in general for any Helldiver. But the EATs, they will disable factory striders, and they will take them out eventually. They will one-shot Hulks, and then the Stalwart will clean up everything else. And because of the playstyle, I guess, against the bots, yeah, this the crossbow I think just really thrives. And kind of a different playstyle with this compared to, I would say, the bugs is your EATs. You want to be throwing these things down everywhere. I think rockets are super important for, especially against the automatons. Bugs, not so much. You can get away with you know, running a lot more, but the bots, no, you can't. You have to kind of like stand your ground a lot more often, and throwing down the EATs is essential for that. So it's a little bit of a management perk with this build, I would say, like a management factor, that you are going to be throwing down these EATs a lot. It has a really short cooldown, so you kind of got to stay on top of it. But everything else with this kit, you know, it's on your back. You're already carrying it, or you place it down and you just gotta hop on and, you know, use the HMG. Yeah, the EAT is the only thing you really got to manage. So overall, this is your army of one build. This is just your Helldiver to the extreme, doing everything himself. You're not relying on orbitals. You're not relying on airstrikes. You're not relying on sentries. This is just your character being an absolute menace to the enemy factions. It's definitely a different playstyle, especially for example, if you're on a Terminid mission and you have bug breaches come up and there's just a shit ton of chaff. It can feel like either the best time or the worst time. But given the mobility of with this and with the stalwart, I err on the side of this is a great time. You know, this is where you can you don't need to aim down sights. You can just hip fire the stalwart, and it feels so good just to tear through a horde of hunters or something like that. Really, really fun. Really good fantasy going on there. And then yeah, dude, guys, that HMG emplacement, it is so fun. It is so strong right now. I am very impressed with how good that weapon feels. Anywho, yeah, that's the build. I have a great time with this playstyle. I was doing it before I made this video, before the patch. And I just don't think it was up to snuff with especially how strong enemies were in, I guess how many enemies there were and how tanky they were in tier 9 and tier 10 with the Alpha commanders and how tanky, you know, charges were. But now with the new patch, it feels right on target where it should be in a very viable playstyle. So with that out of the way, we can kind of move on to the state of the galaxy. I just want to talk about the one thing about the patch right now. I kind of mentioned it last time, but I do think now that I've had some more hours under my belt with this patch, I do think our Helldivers are built too much like paper. We do not have enough health, especially against the bots. It just feels like a couple shots and you go from 100 to 0, and it's not a good feeling at all. I think the way they distributed, you know, they took away basically our headshots being so lethal and they distributed to the rest of our body to kind of like balance it out. I think they missed the mark a little bit. I would like them to go back and tweak this again to make us a little bit more survivable, especially when you are rocking, say, heavy armor or in like with a shield backpack. It makes a slight difference, but taking light armor right now, I don't know about you guys, but the way I play, I'm getting absolutely like destroyed, especially against the bots. The Terminids, that's a different story because with light armor, you can outrun a lot of things, so you're more mobile. More so on the automaton side is where I think we could use a little bit of help. But if this was a splitting hairs and a push comes to shove, I prefer to have our super effective and powerful stratagem weapons, and if we have to be built like paper, that's fine. That's a trade-off I can live with. I'm just kind of throwing my 2 cents in there with that, with the patch and how I feel like our Helldivers are a little fragile. And then let's talk about the space stations. So at the very least, I think these will be essentially modifiers in our favor. So buffs, depending on what planet they are stationed on. That's the minimum thing I'm kind of expecting from these things. The most I'm expecting from these things is, like, again, I've talked about it in a video where what I thought Helldivers need is a social hub maybe, or a platoon social space, just somewhere where you can see just idle players and maybe launching you know, missions from there. That's what the top level idea, I guess I would, or the top level expectation I would have with the with the space stations in general. But the way the major order reads, this is going to be a more gradual process with these space stations. So even if we succeed this major order, I don't expect to see much from it in general. I expect that we continue to have to make to succeed major orders involving these space stations before we get, say, something like a platoon ship or some sort of social space. I don't know, something like that. So I wouldn't have my hopes too much on this major order being complete and like, whoa, we're getting space stations now. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that would be something they would want to advertise a lot in like a trailer, kind of like Escalation of Freedom, to really hype up the community. Because right now we're at a pretty good high right now, but I feel like if they had a major feature like that, they'd be flaunting it a little bit more. Anyways, that's the end of the video. If you made it this far, thank you very much. And I think I'm going to probably take a little bit of break from builds right now because I do want to talk about the chemical war bond. And then I want to readdress my primary tier list of weapons, but now I can do that just in one video, probably be a longer one. I feel like that's okay with people, being a little more a relaxed style, something you just kind of put on the background and you can sit there and pop it up and, you know, write down your comments when I fuck up a weapon where you think it should be. So that'll be a more relaxed video, but longer. So look forward to that. And yeah, Helldivers, I will see you in the next one. Peace.